Hello, my name is Philip Hogan. I'm your zoology TA this semester. The class is set up a bit differently than it has been in previous semesters because of COVID-19. So come in on your scheduled sections and make sure you follow those Blackboard announcements that I've been leaving. So show up on the time designated by the first letter of your last name. So when you get here, each seat is marked. If you find one with a sticker, sit here. Avoid the seats that don't have those stickers, so that way we can actually socially distance in this classroom. It is a small class, as you can probably see, so just be sure to wear your mask at all times, and then make sure you're properly social distancing. Another way that this class is set up differently than it has been in previous semesters is that most of this is going to be online. So there will be these videos that I'm making as kind of an introduction to what we're actually doing in lab. So these videos will be fairly short, roughly, will be short this week, it'll be longer than following weeks. It'll be an introduction of what we're doing in lab, the lab manual, a little bit of lecture going through what taxonomic groups we'll be studying in lab that day. So there will be also these quizzes that will be posted on Blackboard. It'll be available at Sunday evenings at 11:59 p.m. and it'll run all the way until, I believe, 12:40 on Wednesdays. So you have those 2.5 days to take the quiz. Each of those quizzes are worth 10 points. Most of the times will be 10 questions. They can be less. I've done that before, but they'll always be 10 points. So once you're actually in class, we'll do lab work ranging from working with microscopes to dissections, which is probably the most fun part of this course. We'll do things such as dissecting pigs, working with pieces of cnidaria. We'll do some hemoglobin labs for blood work and stuff like that. So most of the times the labs in here are very fun, they're interesting, and they go by fairly quickly. And then once we're out of lab, I'll make a video to recap what we've done. And so once again, there'll be a video for you to start with, introduction. It'll be posted at the same time the quizzes will be posted, generally Sunday evening at 11:59 p.m. Those quizzes will run to the beginning of lab on Wednesday, and then you'll have lab on your scheduled sections, and then from there I'll post another recap video for you guys to watch. So to go over things really briefly, I'll go over a little bit of the syllabus here. I'll go over a little bit of lab safety, and then I'll break into what we're actually doing on lab Wednesday or Thursday for you guys. So as you should have seen already on the syllabus, in blue, right on top in blue letters, there is a new mask policy implemented by WKU and the biology department. It's following CDC guidelines, so you have to have a mask at all times when you're in a building. You have to properly wear it. So that means covering your nose, covering your mouth, and wearing it at all times when you're in the classroom. If you read my announcement, and I hope you did, there is an article published by Duke University on why neck gaiters, those cloth wrappings that are usually made out of spandex, that comes up around your mouth and nose, why those aren't acceptable. Basically, if you did read that article, that just takes the droplets that's in our breath when we cough and sneeze and breaks it up into smaller particles. It's not thick enough to actually really do anything, and in most cases wearing one of those neck gaiters is worse than not having a mask at all. So wear usually a cloth mask like the one I just held up. Those work great. Just something to cover your mouth, nose, and preferably the bottom of your chin as well. Something else you'll notice while you're looking at the syllabus is that there is a section called Manual. In there, it says that you don't have to buy a lab manual for this course. So what WKU Biology Department has done is they've created an electronic manual for you all to use. Those will be posted on Blackboard generally the week prior to each lab. So it'll be under the course content section of Blackboard. Go into there and it'll be labeled manual, and then it'll be separated by week. So we have week 1 for obviously our first week in class. The next major thing that we'll be going over is grading. So I already mentioned really briefly that quizzes are worth 10 points, and then there will be 11 quizzes throughout the semester. One of those quizzes, your lowest quiz grade, gets dropped, which helps you out a little bit. It's a little bit of a bonus at the end of the semester. There's also 2 exams. There's a midterm and a final. The midterm and final are broken up into 2 parts. So there's the lab practical part, and then there's an actual written portion. The lab practical part hopefully will be done in here for the midterm. By the time we have a final exam, everything will be online. So we'll try and make a hybrid of lab practical and midterm for that final exam too. Grading goes fairly standardly. 90% to 100% is an A, 80% to 89% is a B, so on and so forth, until you get to an F, which is less than 60%. Pretty straightforward. So moving on to lab safety, the big thing is wearing closed-toed shoes. That's one thing that I see all the time, is people wearing flip-flops, sandals, and Crocs. I know Crocs have something that covers the toes, but they still are not considered closed-toed shoes. So wear something like sneakers, boots, something like that. Just cover your toes, make sure they're protected. We do deal with sharp stuff such as scalpels, teasing needles, and dropping one will be a sure way to injure your feet. So protect your toes, wear those closed-toed shoes. Another thing is wearing your mask. I'm going to be harping on that a lot this semester. Always be wearing your mask. Don't take it off during class. Another thing is that you always need to be washing your hands, or at least before you leave classroom. There's soap and hand sanitizer available. Wash your hands before you leave. That'll be another way to help prevent the spread of the virus and help keep us on campus for a little bit longer. When you're in class on Wednesday or Thursday, I'll show you all a bit more of the safety protocols that we follow. I'll show you the locations of each of the safety areas, such as first aid box, which is right there. You can, whatever. So the last thing I'll cover in this video is what we're actually going over in lab. So if you take out your lab manual, you'll see it's all about species identification and then phylogenetic trees. So one of the things that we use for identifying an unknown species, or a species unknown to us, is what's called a dichomous key. And so a dichomous key is a kind of like a lab manual or another form of book, which we use to narrow down what our organism could be through mutually exclusive statements. So you'll have like an A choice and then a B choice. So your organism should fit in this one category or another category, and from there you keep following it down, narrowing down what that organism could be. So when you identify an organism using a dichomous key, there's a couple things that you have to make sure you followed before you started. You have to make sure that key is for the right geographic area. New keys are almost always inaccurate as soon as they come out because of invasive species or other species being described. Another thing you have to make sure is that you're using the right key for the right life stage of your organism. So if you're using a key for insects, for example, Make sure you're using a key for adults when you're identifying adults. Make sure you're using a key for the larvae if you're identifying the larvae. You can't use the wrong key for your organism. You won't get the right answer. So yeah. Last thing that we'll talk about in lab is phylogenetic trees. And this should be a review of the previous biology lab that you've had for this. And phylogenetic trees really are just a roadmap of evolutionary relationships between taxonomic groups. And we'll be touching on phylogenetic trees on almost every class for the rest of this semester. They are very important, especially when discussing differences between like the phylum Cnidaria or the phylum Porifera. We can see where these branching patterns happen in real life. So that's what we'll be doing on Wednesday and Thursday. Make sure you come to the right lab sections. Remember, follow the announcements on Blackboard. Use the first letter of your last name, and then go to the corresponding lab section with that. Remember, wear your mask, bring closed-toed shoes, and I'll see you guys Wednesday and Thursday.